Hi everyone, and welcome to the Hair Fuel YouTube channel, where we talk all things hair growth, hair health, and hair science. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell button to stay on top of our next video releases. And if you do derive the value from this video, it would be amazing if you hit that like button as well. As always, as I progress through the video, if you have any questions along the way, pop them in the comments below and we'll be sure to answer them. So today I'm going to talk about a handy hair growth tool that you might have seen in some of the hair growth forums or Facebook groups that you're part of. And this tool is Dermaroller and a Dermastamp. So I'm going to show you the difference between the two and the advantages of both and how to pick the right material. But first, let's dive into science. So you probably opened this video because you were curious about how Dermarolling can help your hair growth. So the story of microneedling has started in the 90s when the scientists discovered that micro-wounding of the skin prompts the production of collagen in the skin as it tries to repair those micro wounds. Now, it's important to mention why collagen is all important in hair growth. We will definitely make another extensive video when we talk about collagen and its role in hair growth. But for now, I want you to remember that the hair itself is made up of keratin, whereas collagen plays an important role when it comes to roots of the hair, because collagen is what lines the internal sac of the hair follicle. So the more collagen there is in a hair follicle, chances are you're going to grow healthier hair, healthier and thicker hair. And it's actually been confirmed by the study held in 2015, where a number of participants have used micro-wounding to alleviate hair loss. That study involved participants using a microneedling tool over a 12-week period time on a weekly basis. And it's very important to note because you shouldn't be using a microneedling tool every day. Even though you might feel that blood flow is all your scalp needs, is all your hair needs to grow, no, you should be using it no more frequently than once a week. So I've got two examples here. They pretty much look like this. This one is called Dermastamp. The reason why it's called Dermastamp, because it has a shape of a stamp that you basically move across your scalp slowly, bit by bit, trying to cover your scalp as you're performing the microneedling routine. This is called Dermaroller, which is actually more popular. I'm not quite sure why, but actually the Dermaroller causes more damage to scalp than a Dermastamp, because as the needles move across your scalp, they might rip the skin on your scalp more than a Dermastamp, and it's a bit less precise. I personally don't like about this is that it gives you less control of where and how the pressure is applied. But if you prefer the rolling, absolutely go for it. So the way that microneedling works is that not only it prompts the blood flow to the affected area, but it also prompts the production of collagen. Now, the key thing here is that it improves blood flow to the area. So if you want to follow up with an oil mix or some sort of serum after your microneedling routine, it's a good time to do it maybe a couple of hours afterwards, because your skin still has those micro wounds on the scalp. So otherwise it's going to stink. Or you can do it the following day. You don't have to follow with any sort of serum. It's going to work on itself. But if you want to kind of elevate that a little bit further, you can definitely follow it up with some sort of serum, hair growth, anything that you put on your skin after microneedling. It definitely will increase the absorption of that. But do bear in mind that there are micro wounds that are on your skin after you finish that routine. Generally speaking, if you're unsure about how to use a microneedling tool, you should definitely go and see a specialist in clinic. They can also use larger needles and access the areas of your scalp that not necessarily that handy to do it when you do it at home. Of course, you can also purchase a Dermaroller or Dermastamp online and try to do it yourself, but highly recommend that you start with smaller needles, so something like 0.5 millimeter is enough to get you started. How to do it, how to perform it on your scalp is pretty straightforward, especially when it comes to Dermastamp. You move the tool across your scalp bit by bit. It takes about, depending how fast you go, don't go too fast, and make sure that you're not damaging the skin with too hasty application. So this one is personally my favorite because it gives you a lot more control than a Dermaroller. So you're stamping your scalp. So even like you can see that this is no more than 2 by 3 centimeter tool. So you need to be really careful as you move it across your scalp, and you're creating tiny wounds that your body will then try to repair and send more collagen locally that will help in your hair regrowth journey. At the back of the specific one, you can see that you can actually change the needle length if you wish. But like I said before, make sure that the needles that you choose are 0.5 millimeters and not more if you're new to microneedling. If you're using a Dermaroller, you can just roll it across your scalp diagonally, vertically, and horizontally, making sure that you are covering the entire scalp. However, of course, like I mentioned before, that Dermaroller gives you a little bit less control. You're not as precise, and you also can get your hair caught up in that little roller over here. So personally, although it looks really cool, it's not my favorite. So another thing to consider when it comes to choosing the tool, it's not only the size of the needles, but also the materials from which the needles are made of. So the two main differences is that there are titanium needles and they are stainless steel needles. So titanium is a hard metal as compared to stainless steel. And that means that it's a lot harder to keep it sharp than stainless steel. But having said that, titanium needles actually are going to stay sharper for longer. There's another consideration to have in mind, is that the titanium is not inherently sterile metal. So you do need to sterilize and take extra precautions if you do choose to go for titanium needles. Another material that is more commonly used is stainless steel. And stainless steel, of course, there is a reason why surgeons use stainless steel scalpels in their surgeries and operations, is because the metal stays very, very sharp, but not for a long time. It's softer, it's made of iron and chromium, and actually chromium prevents it from rusting, which is why it's called stainless steel. But the issue there, the challenge there, is that the fact that you can't use that same tool over and over and over again, because the stainless steel needles in your microneedling tool are going to go blunt pretty quickly. And the way to clean your microneedling tool is that you need to warm it in a warm soapy water and then soak it in an alcohol solution for between 5 to 10 minutes to make sure that it's clean. If at any point that you have any doubts, don't do it at home and rather see a specialist. Talk to a specialist in the local clinic of how you can do it at home. You might need to understand the process a little bit better by having a few sessions locally. That if at any point you feel any doubt, don't go for larger needles. As a first order, like I said, 0.5 millimeter is more than enough to start with, and then see how your scalp behaves. You will see that there's some slight reddening of the scalp, and then you might feel some slight discomfort, but it's not, depending how sensitive your scalp is, it's not highly noticeable, and it tends to go away within 12 hours and you just forget that you've done it. You also would highly recommend need to be gentle with your scalp following that. So I would say try not to wash your hair in the next 12 to 24 hours, because you just created this tiny wounds on your scalp, so it's going to sting and you don't want to stress your scalp that much. So how to incorporate this into your hair growth routine? And we have a question of how can I use with the hair fuel? Do I need to apply any sort of serum? How often, how frequent, how big the needles are? So to recap is that the size of the needles that is recommended to start your microneedling journey from is 0.5 millimeters. You can slowly move yourself up, but it's not about the size of the needles. It's not about the size of the wounds. It's this fact that the tiny wounds do exist and your body sends collagen to them. So start with 0.5 millimeter, that's plenty. Now the next question is, of course, how you can incorporate microneedling into your hair growth routine, especially if you're using the hair fuel growth mask. Definitely you shouldn't be applying the mask within the next 24 hours before or after microneedling, whenever you planned it in your calendar. Generally speaking, if you wait 3 to 4 days after microneedling scalp and then apply the hair fuel mask, that is a good rule of thumb, so your scalp has some time to recover. You shouldn't be using microneedling tool more than once a week, because you don't need it, and then B, you might damage your scalp more and create more problems for yourself than actual benefit. It's important to approach it as a ritual, as a self-care ritual when it comes to caring for your hair. No matter where you are in your hair regrowth journey, is that something that you do for yourself? I know it may sound a little bit cheesy and a little bit out there, but as you're moving the Dermastamp carefully across your scalp, just try to think about it as that you're taking care of yourself, you're taking care of your scalp, and you're extending that little bit self-love and self-care when it comes to you. I really hope it's been helpful and that we've covered the main point when it comes to microneedling your scalp for hair growth. If you have any specific questions, make sure to pop them in the comments below and we will answer them either in a video form or we will just comment and make sure that everyone else benefits from the question that you may have. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful. If that's the case, make sure to hit that like button because it helps us to spread the knowledge and awareness to other people when it comes to hair growth, hair health, and hair science. As always, it doesn't matter where you are at in your hair growth journey. We're always here for you at thehairfuel.com. You can drop us an email, you can drop us a direct message on Instagram and Facebook, and we'll be sure to answer them. Okay, see you next time.